Alright, what's up guys? I know you guys are going to ask me about this, so I figured I'd do another first impressions video, kind of like I did for Adventure Roz. So that was pretty badass. So today we're going to go over Celine and Remnant Violet. They also announced Thierry, I don't know how to say her name, and the collaboration hero. As far as I'm concerned, both the collab hero and Tierra, I don't care about. I'm not going to build them. I'm not going to use them. So we're not going to discuss them here. You can use them if you want. I think, how do you say AI Kiuna or whatever her name is? I think her kit is terrible and unusable for anything. And Tierra, I haven't really looked at, but I don't think she's going to be very good in PvP, which is all I care about. So let's go over Celine's abilities, figure out if she's worth it, and then let's talk about ML Violet. So I'm going to skip ahead through this video. This is the preview video from the official Epic 7 site. You can go watch this yourself if you want. Let's discuss her skills. So I think one of her coolest abilities is her S2. I mean, a lot of times when new heroes come out, their best ability or their unique part of their abilities are in their S2. So the way her S2 works is she attacks a random enemy with Blink, which is apparently just like a hard-hitting single target attack, anytime an enemy uses a non-attack skill, and it can only be activated once every 2 turns. And her Mola mods are damage, which is unfortunate in a way because everyone's probably Mola starved at this point. But the example they used is actually really cool. So look at this. When Oxlots uses his attack boost, that's a non-attack skill. So Celine automatically attacks and one-shots to Judge Kisei. So against Oxlot's cleaves, where they have a bunch of, like squishy cleavers, this is actually really scary. And if you notice, they have Troublemaker Crozet, but Troublemaker Crozet is at full life, and that's because when the enemy is not an elite or a boss monster, damage sharing effects are ignored. So things like Troublemaker Crozet, Aureus, I guess like Eaton, all those things, Seaside Bellona, all those things are ignored. So you can really maximize Celine's counter damage. Now, the one thing that's iffy about this ability, though, is it really only works well if their entire team is squishy, because it says it attacks a random enemy, right? So really in this example, if instead of countering the Judge Kisei, like this neutered this comp because she killed the Judge Kisei, but she could have easily just went on ML Crozet, done nothing, and then Judge Kisei would have just cleaved their entire team right after that. So the randomness of it, I don't really know how useful she'll be with that. It's going to be really RNG, and she's going to be kind of unreliable. But if their whole team is squishy, it would wipe someone out. But for example, let's also say that she went and one-shotted Oxlots. Does it really matter at that point? Because Judge Kisei is going to wipe out their team right after anyway. Let's look at her other skill, Thunderclap. So Thunderclap looks ridiculous. So it dispels all debuffs from the caster and repeatedly slashes at the enemy and triggers an explosion. It also increases her evasion for 2 turns, so it's kind of like Violet, and it heals her proportional to damage dealt. And with Molas, it's only a 3-turn cooldown, so really it means she basically has like a permanent evasion up, which is pretty nuts actually. Let's look at this skill. So the other cool thing about this is the animation is completely badass. Yeah, it's like super anime here. But look, I think she had attack buff when she started. Yeah, she did have attack buff when she started attacking, and it didn't even one-shot the Oxlots. Now, the Oxlots is kind of beefy here. Looks like he has like 14k health, and we don't know his defensive stats. But and obviously we don't know the stats of anyone here. And we don't know how many Molas Celine has, presumably max, but we have no idea. So I'm not sure how hard it hits. I don't know if they've data mined the modifiers yet, but still pretty cool. The evasion buff is awesome, and it might actually give her some self-sustain, kind of like Violet, where he keeps countering with lifesteal set and kind of healing himself up. It's only a 3-turn cooldown, so in a 1v1 situation, it's very possible she'll just keep dodging and healing herself up with her S3. Also, you can probably, she synergizes well with like Moonlight Dreamblade and Violet's Talisman. Violet's Talisman might actually be really good on her because at 3 stacks, she's going to have 80% evasion. The other thing you might want to do is maybe like RNL. I think that adds too much RNG because it's only 20% at max. But if you do RNL, then I think it would reset the cooldown of her S2, and she can proc that even more. Where's her S1? Did they discuss her S1 yet? Her S1's really basic. Attacks the enemy with a sheath. A critical hit will increase damage dealt. So no debuffs or anything on it. All damage mods. So let's talk about her artifact next. At max, has a 100% chance to increase attack for 1 turn when the enemy uses a non-attack skill. So if you look at this example, that's how she got the attack buff. She has no attack buff here, right? Oxlot's boosts up Judge Kisei and suddenly she has attack buff. So it synergizes very well with her S2. The problem is if you use this, you can't use something that's probably better for her, like MLDB or Violet's Talisman. Or, honestly, if you need attack buff, I guess you could even use Alexa's or something. But I don't know how I feel about her artifact overall, but it's certainly not terrible. So let's talk about what I think of her overall and if she's worth pulling for. I'm definitely going to pull for her, but I pull for everything. I think the main problem with her is not even a specific problem with her. The problem is that she's going to be one of these characters. Like if you look at all her skills, they're all damage mods other than the turn cooldown on her S3. My assumption is going to be that for her to be usable competitively in RTA or anything, you're going to have to max Mola her. So you're going to have to ask yourself, is this character worth like 30 plus Molagoras for you to build? I mean, for me, probably not, because I think she's going to be really cool against Oxlot's cleaves. Like in RTA, if you're getting Oxlot's cleaved a lot and you bring her, they have to always think about her, right? Because they don't know who she's going to counter and if it's going to one-shot them. And it is going to be kind of scary, but they also might be willing to roll the dice. And again, because this move is completely random, the randomness is kind of on both sides. Like the attacker doesn't know if his cleave is going to get ruined when she one-shots the cleaver, and you don't know that either. For all you know, in that example, it would have just bricked into the Troublemaker Crozet, not even killed him, and then, like, what was the point of bringing that hero? Because she didn't S3 yet, and she doesn't have any evasion, and she's going to get one-shotted by whatever the cleaver is. Her base stats are pretty solid. Her imprints are fine as well. Her speed is kind of low for a thief, but presumably you're going to build her more like a counter hero anyway. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think she's really cool. Her art is awesome, obviously. Her animation is awesome. So I'm definitely going to get her. For F2P players who are really starved on bookmarks, if I was in that situation, I would probably pass, to be honest. I would probably pass. But if you really like her artwork and you really want to try her out, I mean, some people just play because they like the characters. They don't really care about climbing the ladder or anything. In that case, if you enjoy this, obviously pull for it. But that's my 2 cents on Celine. Now let's talk about ML Violet. He looks scary as hell. He looks like Dracula or something. Alright. Alright, so, actually that was kind of underwhelming at the end. Like, what happened? Nothing blew up or anything. So that ended pretty suddenly. Maybe it wasn't a complete animation. Remnant Violet, let's go over his abilities. His base stats, he's pretty fast, nothing special. I mean, base stats are pretty much the same across all heroes. His imprint release is effectiveness, and his concentration is crit, which is good, makes it easier to gear. Alright, let's look at his S2. So, at the start of battle and the end of the caster's turn, has a 70% chance to increase evasion of the caster for 1 turn. After you successfully evade, gains 1 focus. So focus is like SSB, the little yellow bar. When focus is at 5 after being attacked, consumes it all and uses massacre against a random enemy. So basically it's like having Violet off Apple cooldown all the time, because at max Mola it's 100%. And let's take a look at how this works. So I'm assuming he's at max focus here, and suddenly he counterattacks and uses his S3. I'm assuming that's his S3. Yep, his S3 is called Massacre. It gives him a self-attack buff, which is awesome, before attacking with a sword, and it penetrates defense by 50%. Has a tremendous cooldown of 6 turns, but I assume that's because the way you get it most of the time is through his S2 focus anyway. And it looks to do a ton of damage. And if you soul burn it, it increases his attack by an extra turn, I suppose. So the animation looks pretty cool here. So here, let's look at this example. Spectre Tenebri attacks, and it's focus. So even though Spectre Tenebri can't be countered, it works because focus counters always work. And let's see how hard it hits. 14,000 damage, so it hits pretty hard. Sword Flash cuts the enemy with a 60% or 75% at max Mola to decrease hit chance for 1 turn. Regular Violet has decrease attack, I believe. So kind of similar, kind of reduces the incoming damage. So again, what do I think of ML Violet? Well, I certainly think he's interesting because basically he has a 50% chance to dodge all the time. Let's add a Violet's Talisman to him. Then it's 80% after 3 turns. If you also add a card, that's a 95% chance to dodge. So he's going to dodge pretty much everything. You can also obviously put him on MLDB, but you almost don't need to. Violet's Talisman is better, I think, in this case, because his S3, as we saw, gives him an attack buff anyway. So there's no reason to care about the attack buff component of MLDB. I think the problem with him, for me, I mean, we'll see. If he does such tremendous damage that his S3, like, guarantee one-shots everything, he might still be really good. Again, like, this is all speculative, in my opinion, until I see the multipliers. You really need to know the multipliers. And he also has the same problem as Celine, in that you're probably going to have to max Mola him, like... And all the competitive players out there, like, I'm broke on Molas. Pretty much everyone that's high-end in RTA is broke on Molas. That's why most people don't really experiment. Like, people say, like, oh, the meta is stagnant. Yeah, because there's a limited pool of heroes that are competitive enough where you can invest Molas into them. Like, I would love to play with heroes like Water Roman or, you know, other cool heroes with unique kits, but I cannot afford to waste Molas on them. So is ML Violet worth Molas? I don't know. If his multipliers are insane, maybe. But honestly, I think he's extremely similar to regular Violet, because I think the way you deal with them is exactly the same. I think ML Violet would have been, like, broken good if he was like SSB, where you got 1 focus every time a teammate is attacked. But he doesn't. He gains 1 focus when he successfully evades. So how do you deal with a Violet if you can't kill him before he apples? Well, the scariest thing is when you attack him, he dodges and he counters, right? So what's normally what happens? You just ignore him and kill his entire team, and then you deal with the counters and 4v1 him at the very end. Because Violet doesn't do that much on offense if he's not countering people. I feel like people are going to do the exact same thing to ML Violet. They're just going to ignore him from the start, and then later on just zerg him 4v1 and finish him off. Now, he doesn't really even counter every attack, so you get to attack him 5 times before he kills a teammate. And if you are a MRSA user or something, you know that even when you dodge, you take damage. And with regular Violet, he kind of mitigates it because he counterattacks, and if he's on lifesteal, he heals some of it back. Remnant Violet doesn't do that. Like, you could put him on counter set and lifesteal, and maybe he'll do it to some degree, but in general, he has no self-healing, and he doesn't have a built-in counter the way Green Violet does. So it's kind of weird to me because, honestly, this doesn't seem that much better than regular Violet, just kind of, like, switched up. Like, pretend that this kit was regular Violet's kit, and then they released ML Violet with the current Violet's kit. like it'd kind of be the same. People would be like, oh, that's like a similar kit, but you know, it seems better in some ways, worse in some. I think it's kind of the same thing here. So what am I going to do with ML Violet? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is, again, if his multipliers are insane, I may go for him, but my initial impression is that this is a pass for me. I need to pull for Ruel, and I would much rather have Ruel than this, because in RTA, something I value is consistency. Like, I don't want to have to rely on luck to win in RTA, and that's why I don't really like regular Violet to begin with, because, you know, have you ever noticed that when you have like 90% crit, you still brick the crit all the time? When I don't like using Violet, because that's how I feel it is, because he has a ton of evasion, but I've had like attacked Violets with Apple off cooldown, and my C-Dom just randomly one-shots him, and you know, that guy's probably pissed off. He's like, oh, I had MLD, I had 70% evasion, how did it hit me? 30% is still a big number, right? So even if he has MLDB, it's just a 30% chance that he's still going to get one-shotted, and I don't like dealing with RNG in competitive play. If you really like his artwork, I mean, if you like Dracula or something, he looks pretty badass, so you can go for him anyway. But my initial impression is he is not a must-have. Like, certain heroes, I'll tell you guys, is a must-have. Like, to me, Ruel is a must-have. I thought LQ Charlotte was pretty close to a must-have. Maybe not a must-have, but like, you know, 8.5 out of 10. Ruel's like a 10 out of 10. Arbiter's a 10 out of 10. Like, SSB would be a 10 out of 10. Remnant, I think if you just like Violet, maybe go for him, but I don't think he's going to be game-breaking or anything. But we'll see. I mean, if his multipliers are so ridiculous that this Massacre move one-shots even tanky Soul Weavers, maybe he'll be God tier. But if it's just like a normal hit and, you know, hits for like 10, 15k on a tanky target, I don't know. I think it's not going to be a big deal to deal with. So anyways, those are my first impressions on Remnant, Violet, and Celine. I'm definitely going to get Celine, probably not going to get Remnant, Violet. If you like either of the heroes, obviously use your own discretion. I mean, I can't pass on this because it's just an RGB hero and I have plenty of bookmarks. So yeah, the real problem is I'm going to try to showcase her when I pull her. The problem is I don't think I'll be willing to invest any Molagora in her, so, and probably won't work out that well without Molagora, but I will try to do a showcase video on her at some point, so if you want to see that, make sure you like and subscribe. Anyways, thanks for watching, good luck on your pulls if you do plan on pulling for these heroes. Until next time, peace out guys.